You've probably seen those iconic TED Talks, the red dot, the powerful stories, the viral moments. But here's what most people don't know. It's possible. It's possible for you to get on that same stage. There's thousands of speaking opportunities or TEDx opportunities all around you, but most people either don't think that they're qualified or they're applying to the wrong ones so they never get selected. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to find and land what I call 10x stage opportunities. This is the exact playbook that I followed to land and deliver my TEDx talk, which has almost 400,000 views on YouTube. This video right here has the power to launch your speaking career, even if you've never spoken before. Now, first off, what's the difference between the TED Talk and the TEDx Talk? So a lot of people get confused by this. So the TED Talk, think about the big talks that you've seen, the Brene Brown, the Simon Sinek, the Start With Why. These are, the multi-million view types of talks. TED is the main conference that's a very select, very small group of people. And, there's dozens maybe of TED Talks at a TED event. But then on the flip side, the TEDx Talks, these are a lot more accessible. So the X stands for independently organized event. So basically what this means is that you can go through the TED organization, you can get a license to be able to put together some sort of event in your town, and then you're responsible for vetting the speakers and all that stuff. Now they've got quality guidelines, there's consistency guidelines, there's all these things to make sure that this is a high caliber event and talk, but the TEDx Talk is a lot more approachable for most people. And then the big benefit is that even if it's a TEDx Talk, you're still doing a talk under the TED brand. So it's got the same cachet, the credibility, all that stuff. It's got the ability to really launch your speaking career or your career as an authority because people see that and they instantly think you're legit. Now, every talk that gets delivered at a TEDx stage gets published to their YouTube channel. This is kind of crazy. They've got, 40, 50 million subscribers on that channel. And so you instantly get visibility and distribution when your talk gets published. So what I want to walk through here is, okay, now if we're going after the TEDx stage, how do you even find these? How do you get booked for them? How do you get them to say yes? What's the whole process? Well, it all starts with getting clear on what they call your big idea. Okay, so TED is all about ideas worth sharing. So you need to have some sort of big idea. Now, I'll walk you through kind of what this looked like for me. Obviously, I'm in the book publishing business. And so I'm thinking, okay, this has got to be something around books because I want to make sure that it's related to what I do. But it can't be so closely related to what you do. I couldn't go up and give a talk, why self-publishing is the best publishing option, right? That's not necessarily a big idea. It's not really an idea worth sharing. So you got to get out of your business brain and think, okay, within what I do or within what I teach or within what I'm an expert at, what is the big idea or the idea worth sharing? This is the most important part because if you don't nail this, you can pitch hundreds, thousands of TEDx stages. Boring. Next. No, next. No, you're going to get a whole lot of next and no's, right? So you got to get real clear on the big idea. Now, what I like to do here is kind of come up with my top 3. And this is actually very similar to how I think about coming up with titles for books. It's got to be clear. It's got to be compelling. So I'm thinking in the hook and then maybe the content. And so a lot of times what we'll talk about with book stuff is we've got this concept called chocolate covered broccoli. All right. So chocolate covered broccoli says, sell them what they want, give them what they need. The chocolate needs to be interesting, aka the title of your talk needs to be interesting. Now the content, obviously that needs to be interesting too, but maybe it's kind of this pain pills versus vitamins thing. People don't wake up in the morning and say, I can't wait to have my vitamins today, but they do often wake up and say, my back hurts, I need some pain medicine, right? So as a result, it's easier to sell pain pills than it is to sell vitamins. So you need to have that kind of knee-jerk response, whether it's pain pills, whether it's chocolate. It's got to be enticing for the audience and for the organizer. So if you think about it, you kind of got 2 decision makers here. You've got the organizer who's going to decide whether you even come on that stage. And then you've got the audience, which is who you're really trying to reach with this talk. So ask yourself the question, what is the big idea within what I do? What is the idea worth sharing? And it can't just be your book title. It can't just be your business. It needs to be an idea worth sharing. So I'll give you an example. For me, I said, all right, well, I think mine is why writing a book is the best thing that you can do to serve humanity, right? And I'm like, okay, well, that's decent. Okay, what about writing a book in a weekend? That's maybe kind of interesting. So I started kind of playing around with that and saying, all right, I think I think there's something here. And then I fit that together and I was able to work some of the core things that I talk about at selfpublishing.com and webinars, et cetera, into it, but it needed to be a bigger idea. So that was the serving humanity by publishing a book. So we've got our big idea we're sharing, and I'm really kind of drilling down on and getting in the weeds on this because, again, if you do not get this, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Like, this is the key piece. If you want feedback on your idea from myself or from other people, or you've just got questions on how to get clear on your big idea, comment below. But then we move into what I call the 3 R's. Okay, I teach that in this book right here. It's the 3 R's of landing what I call author appearances. Author appearances are anywhere where you go and talk about what you do in your book. This could be a podcast, this could be a speaking gig, or in this case, this is a TEDx talk. Now, the 3 R's stand for research, referrals, and reach outs. So let's break this down piece by piece. Now, this starts with the research. So we need to find as many stage options as possible. All right. Now, there's lists. You can use ChatGPT to list out all the TEDx stages in your area. You can do research around there. So there's a lot of ways to get lists of stages, but preferably we're looking for ones that are coming up in the next 3 to 12 months, right? Probably more like the 6 to 9 month range, because if they're coming up within the next 3 months, they probably already booked all their speakers. So you can reach out, certainly, but you're probably not going to get a yes. So we're looking for ones that are a little bit further out. And ideally, this is really hard to do, but ideally you want to find them right when they're in their stage of, or right before they're in the stage of finding their speakers. So we're kind of compiling a master list. And then based on that, we'll do our targeted outreach. Okay, so it all starts with the research, though. If you don't have stages to reach out to, well, then, the referrals, the reach outs, none of that is going to be effective. So let's create our master list. Let's see if we can find 25 stages. If you're feeling really bold and confident, or maybe if you're really good with AI and some other research tools, we can get a list of 100 stages. And I want to say, all right, what are all of these TEDx stages? You can go on the TEDx website and find a lot of the independently organized events, but what are all the stages? And most importantly, who is the organizer or decision maker for those events? Because then we move into the referrals piece. All right. Now, this is a luxury for most people, and most people watching this, you might not have this to go to, but if you do, this is the easiest way to land your talk is think, who do I know who's spoken on a TEDx stage? All right, that's the first question to ask. Second question, who do I know, if anyone, who is a TEDx stage organizer? If you know someone for either one of those 2 questions, that's the instant cheat code to getting and landing a stage. So that's the referrals piece. Now, maybe you've got referrals, maybe you've got some people that you can reach out to through that. But if not, well, then you've got to go the same way that everybody else does, which is the 3rd R, which stands for reach outs. Now, there's 2 primary ways that you can land a stage here. There's the way everyone does, and then the way that actually works. Okay, so the way everyone does is there's an application. Okay, so when I was prepping to reach out to a bunch of stages, I kind of filled out this master application that was the answers to all of these possible questions, right? To do this, it's pretty simple. You can just go and look at some of the applications and figure out what are my answers to all these key questions. And then what I recommend is that you just put together a doc that this is all of the answers to the possible questions that I'm going to get in these applications when I go and submit. So once you have that doc created, you can do mass outreach to your top 25 or maybe even your top 100 stages. And we're kind of playing a little bit of a volume game here. This is really important. You got to get at bats. And so if you just apply to 3 stages and then you look up 3 months later and you're like, well, no one's interested. Well, you only applied to 3 stages. So what we kind of want to think about here is what I call the rungs of the ladder. Okay, so the rungs of the ladder, this applies to anything, TEDx stages, this applies to getting booked for your first speaking gigs. This applies when we teach authors how to get on podcasts. Same thing applies. Maybe it's local media. There's your C-level opportunities, your B-level opportunities, and your A-level opportunities. So if we think about this in the context of a TEDx stage, C-level opportunities, these are small events, maybe first-time events. Maybe it's not a big university, or it's not this established kind of, because there's tiers within TEDx stages. This is the entry level. Then there's B level. This is, okay, you're regional. Maybe they have 300 people show up to this thing. It's been going for a few years. It's pretty established. And then there's your A level. I mean, these are the big 1,000-person, 2,000-person TEDx events. What I want to do here is I want to start at the highest rung that I think I might be able to get a yes. Okay. Same goes for podcasts, local media, anything. So if I'm just getting started, I've never done speaking, I've got no referrals, I've got no one I know has done a TEDx talk, there's no organizers that I know, well, cool, I'm probably going to start with some of these C-level opportunities and maybe level up the rungs of the ladder from there. So I'm just trying to get yeses. Good news, high quality problem to have. You can have more than one person say yes. That's a great outcome. So my ideal outcome, and this is what happened when I went through the process, is I had 2 or 3 people that either gave me a yes or an I'm interested. And we said no to some that were smaller so that I could be selective with the one that I really wanted. But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't submit the process and go through the process with a bunch of different people. Now the ultimate cheat code. Okay, this is the part that most people don't do, and quite frankly is why they never land a TEDx stage. And that is, you need to go directly to the decision maker. Now, I think this is a cheat code in every area of life. If you're trying to get a job, if you're trying to get booked to speak somewhere, if you're trying to land a business opportunity, a meeting, whatever, go to the decision maker. There's the way everyone else goes, which is kind of the front facing door. And then you can just go in the back door, but you got to find the back door. So figuring out who is the organizer or who's the decision maker. Now, sometimes this will be listed on the TEDx event. Sometimes you got to do some deep research, maybe with AI, or you can do deep research just on your own. And then what I want to do is find a way to get directly in contact with them on a medium that they don't often get contacted on. Let me send them a connection request on LinkedIn with a note. Like, hey, I just emailed you. Here's a hook. I think this is going to be really helpful. I think you're going to love this, right? My ultimate goal is to find different ways to get directly in touch with the person who's making the decision. Because if I go the main route, there's dozens, probably hundreds of applications. And if you think about the psychology, when they're in that mode and they're looking at the applications, or worse, a lot of times they just have someone screen them for them. So they're just kind of just skimming. I don't want to be, I want to be in that pile, but now I got to get pulled to the top of that pile by getting directly in touch with them. So maybe it's LinkedIn. Maybe I'm friend requesting them on Facebook. Maybe I'm sending them something in the mail. Just any way to stand out. And another way that I used to stand out in my application process is I sent a video, because that's ultimately what they want to see, is how are you going to look on their stage? And so in that video, I'm covering why I'm qualified to give a talk, any social proof that I have, and then most importantly, I want you to bold this, double underline it, what's in it for them. You got to put yourself in the mind or the psychology of the decision maker. What do they want? Well, they want great talks. They want to look good. They want to have a great event. So if I can help bring people to the event, I'm mentioning that. Maybe my talk's good, but I'm going to help them achieve their goal, which is to sell out the event as well. So anything that you can do to put yourself in their mind and think about their goals, which is host a great event, pack it out, right? So if you can help them in any way with that, make sure that you cover it in the video, and then make sure that you cover it in the application. So those are the 3 R's: research, referrals, reach out. So you need a list of people that you can reach out to. You need referrals if you have one. Then you need to reach out early and often and think what's in it for them. But then once you've done that, this is kind of where most people stop. And this is also why most people never get booked, is they just send it, they put in their application, they hope and pray. The fortune is in the follow-up. Okay, you need to be pleasantly persistent. You're not annoying them, just be pleasantly persistent. So what I like to think is, all right, how do I go back to my key opportunities? These are the stages that I really want. And I'm going to message those people on LinkedIn. I'm going to ask for their snail mail address, send them a thank you card for considering me as a speaker. Like, what are the small little things that you can do to stand out? And again, go back directly to the decision maker, but follow up. If you get a no, hey, hop on a call and get feedback. Or if you get any sort of yes or any sort of maybe, my ultimate step here is get them on the phone as quickly as possible, right? Because until then, again, if you think back to the words versus visuals, you're just words on a screen. And so I'm trying to do everything I can to pull myself out of the text and into real life so they see the human. Now, I know if I can get on a call with them, if I can send a video to them, that is a mechanism where I do well. Hopefully you do as well. Otherwise, what are you doing giving a TEDx talk? Maybe you're following up saying, hey, I'd love to take 5 minutes to just walk you through why I think this will be a big win for your event. But you're finding different ways and angles to follow up, to stand out from the crowd, and to ultimately get selected to deliver your TEDx talk. So that's the process. follow this, and it's not a matter of if, but when you get a yes to do a TEDx talk. I gotta tell you, getting on that stage was one of the most magical, fun moments of my life. I'll never forget. You walk out onto the red dot, the pressure's on, you've memorized your talk, it's go time. I remember Jim Tressel was in the audience, which for 99% of you probably means nothing, but as a college football fan, he's kind of a legendary Ohio State coach. So I'm like, oh my gosh, the pressure's on, I gotta deliver this talk. But you can't get to that point if you don't follow all the steps up until this point in the video and get your talk landed. So hopefully this is helpful. Now, if you want a part 2, on how to nail your talk, how to prepare for your talk, how do you get 400,000 views like I did, or how do you turn it into a 7 or 8 figure speaking channel like I've done? I'm gonna record one if enough people want it. So all you gotta do, comment below on this video. Let me know your biggest takeaway, or if you've got questions on what I taught, comment below. I read and respond to every comment. If I get over 100 comments on this video, I'll record a part 2. So if not, I'll assume you guys don't want it. And that's totally fine. But if I get over 100 comments on this video, I'll do the part 2, and I'll see you in the next one.